Watson said that it actually means a little bit more than that. It also affects the human environment around it. The human environment, the number of people that will be crossing, the number of just tires on the road every single day, the wear and tear that's going to be put into the ground that's underneath it. How much of that needs to be raised, reinforced, and the like. So if you look at the actual bridge locations, if you look at where they're at, they are going to be south of Plaquemine, which has already raised a lot of eyebrows on the west side. Landing just north of St. Gabriel on the east side. South of Plaquemine on the west side has raised a lot of eyebrows because a lot of people have said, nobody's going to drive that far down to get to a bridge. Okay, but if you made it north of Plaquemine, you didn't have the space, the right-of-way, all these other things, and the other environmental impacts. Plus, you're going to be looking at how close to the current I-10 bridge are you. You had to get but you had to get a decent stretch in between the I-10 bridge and this bridge, right? If you look at the bridge, proposed bridge locations, and as I understand it, we are up on YouTube now, right? Okay. So let's take your comments throughout the morning. Do you like the three finalists? Are the three proposed locations, when you look at them, first of all, they're like a 5-iron away from each other. They're not that far apart. So no matter what they pick, you got to look at it and say, okay, we've narrowed down this far. Let's get it done. But when you look at these three proposed locations, how comfortable are you with where they're at? Are they too far away from downtown and from the current bridge? Let us know on YouTube. Quick break for news. Condon's up next. All right. What's happening, YouTube? Good morning. Is everybody? Did we have to restart the stream, or we've restarted it all together? Okay. All right. Good morning. We're up and oh, I love seeing Haspel behind me when I'm wearing Haspel. Go. You are. It takes a while. Don't sweat it. All right, so this is now 8:15. Yes, while we're in the Your Money Now report. All right. Hey, Christy's in. Awesome. See that? We got everything up and running. We're good. We got it. And at this point in the morning, the biggest problem I have is that Darth Vader is staring at me. What the hell is that about? No, seriously, y'all. I walk in this morning. So I walk in. I'm without fail. Something's going to go off the air over the course of the weekend when nobody's up here, right? Nope. No. Stop the weather. Yeah. Okay. Without fail, something's going to go off the air over the weekend, right? So my routine when I walk in the building, I grab my gallon of water out of the freezer and then fill up the rest of it so that I would have cold water throughout the show. And then I come up here. I walk in on the second floor to turn off the alarm, and friggin' Darth Vader is staring me down. Like, the studio's dark. All the lights are out. And friggin' Darth Vader is, like, peeking from around the corner. Is that yours?
Can't even take a guess on who could be responsible for that, Brian.
So, well, no. Let's not beat around the bush. Darth Vader guest hosted with Jay Ducote on Friday.
Good, I hey, don't look at me nuts. My temporary bridge came out, so I got missed.
You're fine. You're all right. I would not have noticed.
I know. Good things. I don't smile.
Yeah.
Okay, but just in case you caught me.
All good. All good. You're all right.
I wasn't playing Warren Beatty in a play, okay?
Okay. What are we talking about today?
Dude, I'm just saying, you better get your rest. You better stay hydrated. That's all I'm saying. You better eat right out.
I'll hydrate. Hydrate right now.
Orlando, how are you? So grown men are responsible for that.
Yeah.
It's not something you brought in from your son's room, no?
No.
That's amazing.
No.
No, yeah, you do. What, you hadn't been here long enough? It's been long enough, you should know.
All good things. All good.
Here we go.
All
Now
good
we're
things.
with the North Shore New Orleans.
Oh,
There
no.
North Shore.
Whatever. Bro, speaking of the North Shore, some dude from California fell off a boat by Fontainebleau.
Don't catch me on no boat. No way. Hate water. Besides showering. I love showering. Dude, I'm definitely afraid of water.
That's just, you're from New Orleans.
Oh,
Don't.
You're not going to be a
But you can't.
There's
You
some
can't.
guy in Aruba who can't swim either. You know that.
Probably.
Okay, well, everybody goes, well, you're from New Orleans, you can't swim. What the hell has that got to do?
Wait, you can't swim? What up, T-Bob? You can't swim? I didn't know that. I thought you just hated water.
Yeah, I do, because I can't swim. No one's drowned.
Well, it's a pretty good reason to hate water.
I'll just sit there with the floaties around my bicep.
638 talk.
Haldane, this is a serious show.
It is a serious show. Let's dial it in. Dial it in, Haldane. 638 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Every Monday,
First question to you,
we bring in Richard Condon, but Monday was a holiday, so Tuesday, I'm ready. I'm
Are you watching what you eat?
well, not this weekend.
Are you seeing a masseuse?
I'm not seeing a
Are you
masseuse.
burning incense late at night by yourself in a room
Nope.
talking to Jesus?
No, well, talking to Jesus, yeah, but I don't burn incense. What's up?
And you know what? I'm going to let it out. I'm going to put it on blast.
Okay,
You
put it
guys
on.
have never
This
won
is new to the Condon
a
lexicon.
hurricane coverage
Oh,
LABI award. Now, you and I do the best hurricane coverage in the world. I know you're pointing to yours, which I helped you get, but I don't get
no.
any credit
I'm
for it.
pointing to ours. I'm pointing to ours. This belongs to the studio. That's why it's
Nobody.
here.
Hey, did you go down there to receive it?
Huh?
Did you go down there to receive it?
Yeah.
Or did they FedEx it to you?
No, I went down there.
So if you and I did it, and you knew you no good son of a bugger
I
from
did
the
not
North
know.
Shore,
I did not
you
know.
Would get it. Well, you went there to get it. You couldn't have called me. You got my number. I'd have threw on a leisure suit and been there before you know it.
You don't know you're winning until they announce the winner, Rich.
Yeah, you do.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do. Every time we send somebody from this building over there, they never come back without a trophy.
Well, I mean, we're good.
Yeah. But I'm going to tell you something. I'll still do hurricane coverage with you.
All right.
You know what we are? We like a younger version of Nash Rabbits and Al Duckworth. We do the best hurricane coverage in the world. If you haven't heard it, just let there be a hurricane in the Gulf or a little shower coming off the west coast of Africa. And me and Brown, we got our charts. We walkie-talkie and the guy in the hurricane plane. Good stuff.
It's good. It is. I'm ready for it. I'm ready.
Yep.
Let's not hurry things, though. Let's wait till July.
All right, Haldane, let me get this off my chest. I've never pulled for any team to lose every game, but I am now.
Uh-oh.
Gabe Kapler's San Francisco Giants. Want
Wait,
them to
who?
lose every damn game.
Who?
Gabe Kapler. He's the manager of the Giants.
Oh, I thought that was Mr. Cotter.
No. We ain't talking about Gabe Kaplan.
Okay.
You heard what he said?
What?
He's saying he's not going to be on the field the rest of the season with his players when they play the national anthem. You didn't hear that?
No.
Yeah, listen to this. He came out and said, I won't come out for the playing in the national anthem until I feel better about the direction of our country. The day 19 children and 2 teachers were murdered, we held a moment of silence at sporting events around the country. Then we played the national anthem, and we went on with our lives. So let me get this right. We got a psychopath kid who was cutting his face, whose grandpa can't have a gun in the house, who was raising the kid because the mom's a doper and the dad's a bum. So you're not going to come out for the national anthem because you don't like the direction of this country. Hey, Gabe Kapler, you live in the armpit of America, San Francisco. What are you doing about the homelessness? What are you doing about the drugs out there? What are you doing about the corruption there? How much money and time are you spending on that problem in Frisco? I never want to hear anybody say they're going to trash this country, our anthem, and our flag. You could still love this country and hate our government. So Gabe Kapler can stick it up his behind. I hope the Giants go over. I know they were 13 wins going into the weekend. I didn't follow them. But I hate when people say I'm protesting because you are protesting to every man and woman who gave up their life for this country. You know what? I hate when people say this too, Haldane. They go, well, that's why they died for this country, to get people right. So all you no good, progressive, liberal, vegan, plug your car into the 110 SOBs, you ask every veteran who died serving this country, if they could come back to life one time and vote, who you think wins that one? Yep, I died so this guy can be a jackass and disrespect our anthem. Which would you say?
I always have a problem with it when it's someone who makes millions of dollars to coach other men to play a kid's sport.
I don't care what the hell happens in this country, how bad and corrupt you think our government is, how wacko you think our elected officials are. You cool. Never not stand for the national anthem, and you never disrespect our flag. There is no cause for that. Never. And every time they say that these no good son of a buggers don't move to Uganda, Rwanda, get your ass out of here. Go bathe in the same body of water without the kids with 2-inch belly buttons sticking out, shooing away flies and antelopes to heaven sake.
And
get out of here.
That's a bigger and better point is nobody puts their money where their mouth
Don't
is.
try
Every
to get
time.
professional
What?
on me.
All right. I mean, if you wanted feedback, if you don't, let's move to the next
I do
one.
want feedback, bro.
I'm saying that's a bigger and better point. Nobody's ever willing to put their money, their actual money where their mouth is.
Hurricane coverage,
What?
COVID coverage, and when the locusts are coming in firing.
By the way, speaking of, COVID coverage got overlooked by the association. Where's that award?
Well, I mean, where's my award since '85?
I can slap your name on this trophy and you can have it, Rich.
No. Don't need that, Haldane. Right. Now, look, I got another issue here.
What's that?
All right,
this page has numbers on it. What are we doing?
Let me tell you what I did see on it, okay?
What are you calling bingo?
What's that?
All right. Hey, you supposed to got numbers on it. What are you calling bingo?
No, we don't have time to do this. But you know what I did here?
We got 4 minutes.
So, no, my show. Look, I got the stats of all the teams in the region who LSU's going with, batting averages, ERAs, fielding percentage, and all of that.
All right.
Now, look, you know about how they honored 11,000 Louisiana veterans who lost their battle, right?
Yes.
Who lost serving their country?
Yes.
Well, guess what? Guess who didn't mention anything on the Facebook page about it?
Who?
Mayor Broom. Nothing. Not one mention on the official Facebook page for the mayor. We got Summer Hope, that was mentioned. Youth Workforce Experience mentioned. State of Housing in East Baton Rouge Parish mentioned. The grand opening today of the Baton Rouge Metropolitan Black Chamber of Commerce. Mother's Day mentioned. Juneteenth. Everything's mentioned. But there's not one mention on the mayor's Facebook page, and less than a mile away from 222 St. Louis Street, where she does all of that hard work and feverishly behind the scenes for everybody of all colors and no matter what they like on their food table. But yet they got 11,000 flags right there, and she can't even mention it on her official Facebook page. Can't even mention Memorial Day. Remember what Memorial Day is all about. Absent. Done. All the nonsense crap she posts on her Facebook page to promote her own damn individual agenda. That's what's best for everybody. She can't even mention Memorial Day.
She's not the only one, Rich.
Well,
did you
good.
see who
Then
showed
you
up?
Bring up the rest of them.
No. Did you?
She's the mayor of this
Did
city.
you see the story at WBRZ? Dozens of people showed up at Port Hudson yesterday.
I get that, but those dozens of people are not the mayor.
I'm just
of the
saying
city.
it's
she's held to a higher regard.
No, I know it. You're going to follow her Facebook to find out whatever she doesn't
exactly
post.
right, because nobody holds her accountable.
That's-
Nobody. They just let her get a pass. Let her get a pass. Let her get a pass. It's every damn time.
I'm saying it's a bigger problem than you're giving it credit for.
Look, I went down there yesterday. I do it every year. Just look at the flag.
Yes,
kind of
on the
remember,
by
look
the
at
Capitol,
state
yes.
The whole bit, so I do it, and she can't even mention it. You don't think you got a problem with that?
Do what?
have a
I
problem
think
with
it's a bigger problem to where Memorial Day is all about barbecuing
There
at
you
this
go.
point.
Man, Brum will still come on your show. Good. Because I know that's why you're doing it like that. I know
right.
you, Haldane.
All right.
And look, what about
1 minute left. What you
what
got?
about this kid, man? This 10-year-old kid in Florida. 10-year-old kid threatens to shoot up the whole school in a text. Threatens to shoot up the whole school, right?
Okay.
Okay. So they bring him in, and he says it again. So they officially arrest the guy. Okay? Now, you want to make a bet? Check one of these boxes.
All right.
Father is not around. Father has a criminal record, has a history of drug use, excessive alcohol consumption, or all of the above. Has a single mother who has battled drug addiction. Child is being raised by grandparents, and grandpa's never around. Child has been in and out of numerous foster homes. It's the same old crap.
I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. Absolutely.
So everything in society would be much better if somehow, after fornication happens, there's a little commitment between two people. That's the bottom line, Haldane.
No, the answers can be solved in the at the U.S. Capitol when we legislate.
I do. Now, it's silly. It's not professional. It's very dangerous. But I do appreciate a man at 11:15 at night, 82 years of age, is hammered out somewhere. Now, you shouldn't be behind the wheel. But by 9 o'clock, Brian, I'm in a pile of spit after going to Piccadilly, and my wife and I play one game of bingo. I'm night-night, and I'm 62. This guy's out, 11:15 at night, 82.
Who?
And he's hammered. Pelosi's old man.
Oh, how do you find these? Pelosi. I'm sorry, I keep it dialed into Baton Rouge, but Pelosi's old man's doing what?
He got a DUI.
No
You
way.
didn't know that?
How? How do you
Because
not
he
talk
was-
your way out of that?
Because he was loaded in the office.
No,
man. I
but
don't
you're
care who
Nancy
you are.
Pelosi's
What would
old
happen
man.
was
How
he
do you
probably
not
could've
talk
got-
your way
let me tell you
out of
something.
that?
Let me tell you something, Haldane. If you want me to come in and do the news segment, I will. Now, look. Here's the deal. I'll do news, weather, and guess what? Social issues and community fundraisers. I'm your Mr. Go-to
No,
guy.
I
Now, let me
don't
tell you
talk
what happened.
about Nancy
Look,
Pelosi's.
he was out
This
drinking-
is two Northern
He was
California
out
stories you
drinking
got in one
cocktails.
Baton Rouge segment.
He was out drinking cocktails.
Yeah.
He ran a stop sign in his Porsche.
Uh-huh.
And he hit another person. God bless you, didn't kill another person. And he got arrested. He got busted. He got a DUI. 11:15 at night. You got to be kidding me.
If you're
I've been
Nancy
in bed
Pelosi's
8
husband
times,
and you
I
can't
got
talk
up-
your way out of that,
What's that?
how does he not talk his way out of that?
Now
You got to have that kind of swag.
Wait. Now you're pointing fingers at the officer. Now an officer, see, it's people like you, how all these hot shots get off their tickets and fines. Then you go to
just
the
saying.
Now you think that man is above the average listener you have. He
No,
shouldn't
I
have
didn't say
lied to
that.
you. He shouldn't have been
That's
able
not
to
what
talk
I
his way
said.
out.
That's not what I said at all.
Well, that's what I heard.
But he's coming from
Hang on
that
a second.
same
Let me
district
turn
where
my
you're.
ears back on that.
He's coming from that same district where you're hating on the San Francisco Giants manager.
I didn't say every police officer is a bad person, Brian.
He's Richard Condon. You find him right down the hall on Eagle 98.1. Appreciate you, brother.
Rest, buddy. We got hurricanes.
Yeah, we do. Starting tomorrow. All right, we ran way long, so here's what we're going to do. We'll break it tense. Yeah, don't even. Say hi to Darth Vader. We got Your Money Now coming your way in 1 minute. We ran long, so traffic's going to have to wait until after Your Money Now. And then Scott McFarland's going to talk about potential gun legislation next. All right, so after 1 minute, pause it. Go to your money now, and then play the rest of the break on the back end. Yeah, we're good, I think. No, what it is, kill the mics for a second. So, hello. Karen McCord, yeah. Yeah. Two minutes. Yes. And as soon as you hit play back on there, get Scott on the phone. We're not going to have the outside in today. Actually, let's move the outside in back to 8:15 as well. Excuse me. Wow. Oops. Was Condon on? Oh, somebody said Condon's mic was off. I think it was at the very beginning. All right. Eric says, "How do you not have a driver with that money?" It's totally the point. Like, I took it to the angle that I thought would trigger Condon even further, but every time an athlete gets a DUI, I know. Right. Yeah. Ugh. Hate the way my hair grows out. It's either I gotta cut it like every week or just let it grow so it'll fall. Like it's like I do. High and tight. No. I have cone head. I can't. Totally have a cone head. Well, this break lasted longer than I thought. I have all of 5 minutes with Scott. We should get it done. I'm coming in cold. No bumper. I'm just coming right in. Don't want to waste time. .655 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Ran long in our last segment, pushing us back. Don't want to waste any more time. CBS correspondent Scott McFarland is on Capitol Hill and joins us now. Let's talk about guns and Congress. Scott, welcome back. How are you, man?
Good to be here.
Glad to have you on this morning. Let's start with the very basics. Obviously, the shooting, the massacre in Uvalde, Texas, got the ball rolling on more talks about potential gun legislation. What is on the table this time around?
Likely red flag laws, or the federal government helping states enact red flag laws. So what's a red flag law? It's when a court orders the seizure of a gun from somebody deemed to be dangerous by the court. That's an incremental step towards gun control, according to advocates, but at this point it's the most tenable proposal to get to the elusive 60 votes in the U.S. Senate.
How close are the numbers going to be to get anything done with this?
Extraordinarily close, and there's a transcendent pessimism about getting 60 votes on even small bore legislation this close to the election, much less a politically radioactive issue like gun control. That being said, there's a meeting today, a virtual Zoom meeting between two pivotal senators, the Democrat from Connecticut, Chris Murphy, who's been an advocate and a leader on gun control issues, and Texas Republican John Cornyn, obviously his home state directly impacted this month. We'll see where the conversations go, but it's always a sign of progress that they're having conversations and willing to let us know about.
Okay, here comes the real crux of it. Would a red flag law have stopped this shooting or the shooting in Buffalo?
What Chris Murphy from Connecticut would say is they're not trying to legislate toward the prior tragedy. They're trying to prevent the next one. So there's no indication a red flag law would work if nobody knew this young man had mental health issues.
Right.
But I think what the gun control activists are trying to argue is that we don't know what the next tragedy is going to be. Let's enact some legislation to mitigate against it.
The other hard part of this is not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good here, and if red flag laws could potentially stop the next one, they won't 100% stop the next one. So how much pushback do you expect there to be because this is, quote, not enough?
A lot. That's always going to be a concern among activists that enacting a thin piece of legislation won't do enough to protect Americans. There's all kinds of constituencies here that are going to push back against gun control proposals, some calling it too weak, some calling it onerous, but that's what they're trying to navigate. You have to get to 60 votes in the U.S. Senate. That's a treacherous path that nobody has perfected.
Exactly. It is lonely grounds, to say the least. Outside of red flag laws, is there anything else that's legitimately on the table right now?
There are loopholes in background checks, according to Senator Murphy, that could be tied up. Senator Blumenthal, another Democrat from Connecticut, has mentioned that as well. The FBI's background check system has expiration dates or has some time frames that could be expanded to make sure there are no issues with background checks that otherwise might not have to be there. But that's also incremental. I think, to put it more plain spoken, that's thin gruel to some gun control activists who want to see purchase requirements for assault weapons raised from 18 years old to 21 years old, who want a ban on high-capacity magazines. This may not be as satisfying to everybody once they see the final product.
We've got CBS correspondent Scott McFarland on Capitol Hill. We're talking about guns in Congress today. Got about a minute left. Scott, I want to ask, this might be a little bit out of left field, but when it comes to red flag laws, has anyone in the mental health world sounded off on what the potential unexpected, unintended consequences could be of making more exposure of mental health backgrounds? Would there be any backlash from that end?
I haven't heard that. I have heard from gun control advocacy groups like Everytown for USA and the Giffords gun control activist group that these red flag laws have a proven record of saving lives. For every 19 to 20 times a court orders a gun seized, a life is saved. That being said, they're not widely tested. These are newly enacted in the states that have them. They're only 3 or 4 years old in many states, and only about 20 states have them. We'll see how they perform. We'll see if there's other kickback if they become more widely pervasive.
He is Scott McFarland. We appreciate the time, sir. Thanks a million. Oh, here comes CBS News. So that's the part that I want to find out about with the red flag laws. That is going to be the unintended consequences of this. The way red flag laws can be written, or the way this can be enacted, can put a stop to people seeking mental help. Think of this like if your medical records should be sealed or will be sealed because of doctor-patient confidentiality, you can talk to your doctor with relative ease. If your mental health records do not have that same level of confidentiality, then what are we doing here? Think of this from a Catholic perspective. Does anybody go into confession if there's no seal of the confessional? Nyquilla says, I have a feeling red flag laws won't stop any mass shootings. Parents of the people doing these will never call in on their kids. It is fair, but like, as many unintended consequences as I can see in this, is the potential for that and the potential for low yield results. We got to start somewhere. I think it's the loopholes in the background checks personally. But I'm not like, there's got to be room for somebody else's idea. And that's the part that worries me with Congress, is everybody's going to be wholeheartedly in favor of their own idea and not in favor of anybody else's idea. No, totally. They've coddled and enabled these people their whole lives. Absolutely. Same here, but was it the Buffalo shooting where the FBI looked in on this guy last year? Okay, I think the red flag law, depending on how it's written, could have picked up on that. The devil's going to be in the details on that, for sure. Oh, good. Can we I'm gonna put him in a closet.
Put him away somewhere. I don't know. He keeps scaring me.
Where does the screen start? You ready?
Right there. He's the guest for the day. Darth. Who's your least favorite Jedi? Yeah, gotta be.
He's the only one who can scream, I hate you!
I mean, talk about daddy issues.
Right? Oh, my goodness. This tornado damage that we're seeing from overnight. Was that even mentioned in the World News Roundup? Yep. That's when you hit traffic. There you go. Yes. Nyquilla says, I'm okay with a more scrutinizing background check, but don't when I pass if want to have to pay extra for items like we do now. Pay $200 on top of item they have to wait 6 months for. Oh, for the background to come back. So, yes, that will be problematic as well, but so the timing of this is everything, right? 6 months to do anything is a bad idea. A $2,000 gun? That's a damn good question. Yes, if a part-time Wendy's employee can afford a $2,000 weapon, then let's rehash the livable wage discussion. .707 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you. Alondra producing. Thanks again to Scott McFarland for stopping by to talk about a little bit about potential gun legislation. It's got the conversation going on our YouTube stream, and yes, we are up and running on YouTube. Took a minute this morning. Had the computer punching back at us a little bit as we were trying to get the show up and running, but nonetheless, once we were up and running, if you are already subscribed, you got an alert saying, hey, they're going now. If you've not yet subscribed, it's Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube. Go ahead and hit that little bell, subscribe. Get the alerts when we go live every single morning and learn a little bit more about what we're going to be talking about so you can know if you want to be dialed in. Spoiler alert, you want to be dialed in. Busy hour this hour. Trey Godfrey from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber going to join us in our next segment to talk about the 3 potential Mississippi River Bridge locations. All 3 are in Iberville Parish. They're basically a 5-iron away from each other. Really, do we need to waste a whole lot of time narrowing down from 3 to 1? We'll talk about that in our next segment. Also, let's talk about Derek Todd Lee. Oh, yeah. WBRZ doing a deep dive into the investigation, the trial, the conviction, the whole works. Bess Casserleigh set to join us at 7:35 to break this down. I mean, they've really dug in over here. So we'll talk about Baton Rouge's serial killer at 7:35. And then quick programming note, we're going to push the outside in back into the 8 o'clock hour because we've got Karen McCord coming by to close out the hour. Our friend and colleague who passed away, 3 years ago now, almost 3 years ago now, Carly McCord, We're going to speak with her mother about some stuff that they've got going on later on this hour. Right now, though, we start off this hour with top stories and trending. Let's get it.
Yo, pump it up. It's time for the news. Yo, we getting ready to bring you the news, boy.
What do you hear? What do you say?
Tell me what happened?
Now, top stories and trending
5, 4, 3, 2, I let one go.
on Talk 107.3 FM.
The most trusted name in news.
Brought to you by Complete Collision Center, with locations in Zachary and Baton Rouge. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Choose CompleteCollision.com.
I want to know absolutely everything that's happened up to now.
Number 5.
Fire investigators are looking into 2 fires at a fourplex in the 2400 block of Mason Avenue that was on Saturday. The cause of the first fire is still unknown. Crews arrived to find the front upstairs unit of the fourplex building fully engulfed in flames. Both upstairs units were completely destroyed. The downstairs units sustained enough heat and water damage to consider them a total loss as well. A single-family house also sustained heat damage from that fire. Now, the second fire being investigated is being investigated as an arson. Firefighters returned to the exact same location to find what was left of the second floor from the first fire. It was determined that the fire is believed to have begun in the rear of the second floor unit. Crews say it caused significantly more damage to the unit and the first floor as well. Both fires remain under investigation.
Number 4.
Man was shot by deputies after trying to shoot his neighbor Sunday morning. According to the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office, deputies arrived on North Shamrock Drive around 9:20 a.m. They said Marvin Paul was holding a revolver and complied when deputies asked him to drop the gun and get on the ground. Now, deputies said a neighbor, Darren Harrell, ran toward the gun and pointed it at Paul while he was laying on the ground. Deputies said they told Harrell to drop the gun, which he did not. Harrell was shot by a deputy and taken to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Upon his release from the hospital, Harrell will be booked for illegal use of a weapon and attempted second-degree murder. Meanwhile, Paul was booked for simple criminal damage to property, attempted to second-degree murder, and illegal use of a weapon as well.
Number 3.
Louisiana Office of Juvenile Justice says they are temporarily suspending in-person visits at all secure facilities due to confirmed COVID-19 cases. State health officials reported 1,279 new cases of COVID-19 in Louisiana, with 4 new deaths and 197 people hospitalized as of Friday. Those not fully vaccinated account for 65% of the COVID hospitalizations, according to the Department of Health. In an effort to slow the spread of the virus, the state said all complexes have been placed on precautionary quarantine effective last Thursday. Officials said in-person visitations are scheduled to resume Saturday, June 11th and Sunday, June 12th.
Number 2.
2 people were shot Saturday morning in an apartment complex. Gunfire was reported just after 9 a.m. on Coursey Boulevard, just west of Stumberg Lane. Baton Rouge EMS said the victim's injuries were serious but not life-threatening. Police were taping off one of the buildings at the complex as their investigation began. Ooh, I was at the intersection of Sherwood and Coursey as all the emergency vehicles were rolling through. I mean, it was spelling out to be something big.
Number 1.
Police arrested a pair of men tied to a rash of car stunts that shut down multiple intersections in the capital city and led to a dangerous pursuit over the weekend. Actually, there are up to 3 persons arrested. BRPD booked 24-year-old Jason Cager and 18-year-old Troy Perrette in separate incidents reported on the same night. Both were booked for drag racing and aggravated obstruction of a highway. Cager faces additional charges for his high-speed chase with law enforcement. That first incident was at the intersection of North Airway and Tom shortly after 11:30 p.m. Saturday. Within an hour of that arrest, officers responded to the intersection of South Choctaw and North Flannery Road, where more drivers were reportedly drag racing and doing other types of stunts on the road. A third person, 30-year-old Clifford Hall, was taken into custody Sunday near the Mall of Louisiana after police spotted a car belonging to a known street racer. Those are your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending this morning. It was light turnout on Sunday. Dozens gathered, Monday. Dozens gathered Monday at the Port Hudson National Cemetery in Zachary, far less than ceremonies before the pandemic. Quote, "We're currently going through a lot in this country. In a day like today, we need to be reminded, everyone needs to be reminded of those that came before us," said Eugenia Simmons, secretary of the Louisiana Military Cemetery Complex. There's more than 8,000 graves at that cemetery, and it is filled to capacity. The only room left at Port Hudson is for the spouses of soldiers buried here, and cremations as well. Quote, "In ceremonies like this, it reminds us that we didn't forget, that we're taken care of, and that they will be forever taken care of. Talking about those who gave their lives for our country. Is that really what yesterday was all about? Those are your top stories in trending. We're taking a quick break. When we come back, 3 bridge locations, all in Iberville Parish. Let's talk with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber next. So KC says, slippery slope. When you do background checks, start checking social media posts. Damn good question. Damn good question. But it brings up so much more, though. So what social media are we looking at here? What kind of fake accounts are we looking at here? Are we doing it based off of IP addresses? Or are we doing it based off of, like, Brian Haldane registered as Brian Haldane? Yeah, because, like, if there is a Facebook account where everything's all hunky-dory and some kind of weird Reddit account that leaves the rails under a fake name with a fake email address, then how far have we gotten here? Have we gotten anywhere? But again, what do you let stand in your way? In order to protect the Second Amendment and leave those of us who play by the rules protected. That's the part I'm having trouble with. And at the end of the day, none of this shit's going to do anything. Make it all illegal, and it's still not going to do anything. Columbine happened when? 1999? In 1993 or 94, there was a 10-year ban put on assault weapons. We had a 10-year ban on assault weapons that was in effect when Columbine happened. So it's very easy to say it doesn't matter what you do. Criminals are going to find a way to commit crimes.
I feel stupid, but I know it won't last long. And I've been guessing, and I could have been guessing wrong.
716 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. As promised, is delivered. Dr. Sean Wilson said we would have a narrowing of 3 locations for a new Mississippi River Bridge in the Capital Region by the end of May. Well, they did it with a couple days to spare. Today is the last day of May, and these came out Friday afternoon. Joining us now to talk about it from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, their Senior Vice President of Policy, Trey Godfrey. Trey, welcome back, man. How are you?
Doing great. It's great to be here with you again.
Right? I mean, a little bit fired up this morning because of the news. This came down Friday. I got to tell you, I would be lying if I said I wasn't at least a little bit surprised that this came to fruition.
So we are absolutely excited about this. We've been tracking this process since it started, and there were some fits and starts and some moments of consternation, but nonetheless, Dr. Wilson and his crew at DOTD held true to their word, and then there were 3.
Right. So the 3 locations with 2 jumping off points and 2 landing points and just a variance within where on the river the second one will cross. These 3 locations, they seem to be pretty close to each other. So how much fuss and consternation will there be to get from 3 down to 1?
So, as you mentioned, these 3 are in a very tight geographic area to one another. The biggest thing is the process is moving, and that to me is the biggest message to be pushed forward right now. We, for so long, have talked about this, probably since the second Edwin Edwards administration, I guess. We talked about creating an alternative route to get people around the city core of Baton Rouge, and we're finally closer than we ever have been before. All 3 of these locations mitigate traffic, looking at the traffic modeling, the change in vehicular traffic hours, and the changes in vehicle hours traveled. In 2024 traffic modeling, all 3 of these locations will decrease traffic, and that's a good thing.
Okay, so by how much, I guess, is the biggest question here, because proximity or distance from the current quote-unquote new bridge, distance from the Horace Wilkinson Bridge was one of the concerns taken into account. So how do we determine if we're too far away to attract enough people?
So a couple of figures take us deeper into that. Number one is the number of vehicles that would be projected to use this crossing every day. And number two is the change in area-wide traffic, right? And so each one of these will, in 2024 traffic modeling, still show a decrease of about 1% in average daily traffic. Now, that's taken into account all of the growth that will also happen between now and 20 years from now as well. So, number one, that's a good thing. The second piece of this is how many cars, and there's probably about 25,000 daily travelers that are projected to use this route. Now, taking a step back, one thing that's been easy to miss throughout this entire conversation that we really want to amplify is that this, Brian, can't simply just be about a bridge and a river crossing, right? There are the connectors, the corridors of LA1 and LA30. When additional capacity is added to those, it creates what essentially amounts to a southern bypass, if you will. I hesitate to use the word loop, but a southern bypass that allows drivers to avoid the congestion on the Horace Wilkinson Bridge. And so, you know, we're looking probably further out from the current bridge than some people wanted, but still there's another route around those traffic choke points in Baton Rouge.
Let's talk about that, because getting to work on that immediately is going to be a factor in all this. So what does that look like?
So really working on parallel tracks, and DOTD is going to have to walk and chew gum at the same time on this one. So the entire project, for it to have maximal impact on the region's traffic, both the work to create the funding mechanism and environmental construction, et cetera, for LA30 on the east side and LA1 is going to have to work concurrently with the ongoing environmental and development and construction of the new bridge, so that, 9-10 years from now, we have a fully complete bypass, allowing for travelers to get around Baton Rouge quicker.
We're talking with Trey Godfrey from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber about the three proposed bridge locations. So 9 to 10 years, that would include the bridge and the bypass, right?
Absolutely. That's the best case scenario. And so when you begin to look at what the process looks like now, so there's a 2-year federally mandated environmental process, the NEPA process, which now that there are 3 location alternatives, DOTD will move now into that process, and probably by about mid-2024, there will be a record of decision. At that point, DOTD can then enter into contracts with a design-build partner, and probably within 6 months of that, begin turning over dirt. Now, there's a lot of work that can happen also in the meantime when it comes to right-of-ways, and especially when it comes to beginning work on those 2 connector corridors, LA1 and LA30. And then assuming from 2025, a 5 to 6, maybe 7-year construction period, barring the, pandemics and hurricanes and anything else that could happen, that's what the time frame can look like.
All right. I mean, we're further down the road, no pun intended, we're further down the road than we've ever been.
We are a whole lot further, and that's where the cause of excitement has been.
Yes.
We've passed the point where in past efforts, things have fallen apart. And certainly have to give a lot of pats on the back, number one, to Sean Wilson and his crew at DOTD, of course, but secondly, to our legislators, because one of the biggest things is that there is actually money to make it happen. Maybe not necessarily as much as the governor originally proposed, but $300 million is not insignificant when it comes to an effort like this.
No, it's not. And so I've got so many questions, but I'm trying not to be a wet blanket at the same time. $300 million is a great start. $500 million would have been better, because basically when you incorporate what the federal government can contribute into this or tack onto this, you're doubling whatever number you're putting up. Now, with any gap between now and the pouring of concrete at all, there's also the opportunity for the legislature to shift course. How do we keep the foot on the gas, pun very much intended, from the legislative standpoint, in order to take this $300 million and continue it down the path towards $2.5 billion? Very
good play on words, first of all.
Thank you.
Secondly, there's there's so much energy and momentum behind this. I really wouldn't foresee any changes, of course, as far as how this money is allocated. There was a lot of foresight that was put into this using one-time money for these one-time transformational expenses. Now, how do we get from $300 million to what is going to take? There's going to have to be a lot of machinations that all come together, but between the one-time money, potential federal grant matches from the IIJA, our private partner who comes in to make the design, build, construction, and make the tolling revenue off of it is going to be a significant piece, as well as bonding out monies from the automobile sales tax that was passed in last year's session. So when you begin to put that revenue stack together, it begins to add up. Now, when it comes to the connectors, though, there's going to have to be another pretty significant amount of monies that flow into this revenue stack to bring the entire project together. But we are way down the road, to use a pun of my own, toward making this happen.
But knowing that we're going to make it happen, knowing that the connectors are going to need to be a thing, and seeing like folks like the Highway 30 Coalition and whatnot, seeing that out in front rather than adapting well after the fact. I mean, you look at the traffic program that's going on throughout Baton Rouge right now. It's all retroactive. It's all reacting to population growth in the past. I don't know that I've seen this kind of momentum behind foresight before.
This is relatively new. You know, there's I can't say that I love this quote, but there's one that's floating out there that kind of contrasts us from our friends in Texas to our west. And the quote is that, Texas will build things 10 years before they're necessary, while we begin talking about things 20 years after they're necessary. And I don't like it very much, but I mean, perhaps a hit dog will holler, right? And so we are seeing a lot of foresight on this. Really, really glad to see our regional partners in Ascension with the I-30 or the LA 30 Coalition bringing momentum behind that as well, because it's going to take all of the momentum that we can generate, all of the attention, amplification of messages that we can put on this to bring it all together. But nonetheless, the bottom line is the bridge is moving. There's more momentum than there ever has been, and a reason for optimism around this.
All right, let's do a little myth busting here, because those that want to be pessimistic about it are going to be pessimistic about it, but let's kind of kill off some of their arguments before they even get started. Everyone's going to look at the Audubon Bridge and say, this is what you get when you run it through the legislature, or look at the Audubon Bridge and say, this is what you get from your government. There are comparisons here, and then there are not comparisons here. The first of which would be the distance from the Horace Wilkinson Bridge right off the bat. If I'm not mistaken, it's roughly 22 miles to the north on the for the Audubon Bridge. The southernmost projected route, and I'm starting on the west side, by the way, the southernmost projected route is 14 miles away on this one. That 8 miles makes all the difference.
That 8 miles makes a ton of difference. And so one of the things, when you look at the calculus that went into this, a new bridge that's too close to the Horace Wilkinson Bridge would not get many travelers, because you're already close enough in the corridor to use the existing bridge. And then one too far south would have the same issue. And so there was a happy medium that had to kind of come into place, which I believe DOTD has found. The second and probably more important point is all of these decisions were made based on the hard data. And the data show us how many drivers will probably be crossing this in the future, what traffic counts look like, what traffic mitigation looks like. And so when you look at the numbers, there is no comparison whatsoever to the Audubon Bridge.
Well, and there's another part of this that I don't know that we factored in, or we haven't talked about yet, I should say, and that is where the physical plants are located. Because, I mean, when you get north of the 110 bridge, it gets a little more sparse, but south of the Horace Wilkinson Bridge, you've got Port Allen, you've got Addis, you've got Plaquemine, you've got population centers that are south here. In fact, this one is the proposed location is north of White Castle. So we're not leaving civilization here.
Absolutely not. There are population centers on the west side of the river, up and down LA1, and so it's not like we're building a bridge in the middle of nowhere to nowhere. We're building a bridge that both local and through travelers are going to put to very good use. In addition, when you look at industry, to the other point that you just made, Dow, Westlake, Shintech, and all the other plants on the west side of the river, in addition to those on the east bank as well, there's such a concentration of workers in these corridors who will be able to move around so much faster than they currently can, considering the choke point that drivers always face moving through the region.
Last one before I get you out of here, and that's just Mother Nature. Because when you look south of the Horace Wilkinson Bridge, which I'm now officially no longer calling the new bridge, when you look south of the Horace Wilkinson Bridge, the river decides to just start serpentining really drastically. So that's playing into this as well.
That plays into this a lot. And constructability and navigability issues of the river played a really big role in the location determinations. And so that's just something, I mean, you can't win a fight with Mother Nature. The best thing that you can do is work along with her, which is what's been done in this process. We are tremendously excited to be down to these 3 locations right now and look forward to being an asset to helping this progress move forward for the good of the region.
Are we taking odds on which of the 3 actually gets it? Because I'm going with the southernmost. That's where my money's at.
Ooh, interestingly enough, I am not a betting man, but I would be willing to wager $5 with you on that one.
Okay.
Any of the 3 would be great. We want a completed bridge. I'll put my $5 on the northernmost of the 3.
All right. He is Trey Godfrey from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber on record now as northern versus southernmost. We got it going, Trey. Appreciate your time, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Always enjoy. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. I mean, you're not going to find it on the DraftKings app, but you'll find it right here on Talk 107.3. Here comes news. We're talking to Bess Casserleigh next. Hey, yeah. Okay. I haven't read it yet. Okay. Okay. It was still open. Okay. Okay. Sort of. I'm sure I'll see more when I actually read the email. No, I had 2 other interviews in front of her, so I kind of keep it triaged. Yeah, I'm actually tying this back in the news if that's okay. That's a segment called The Outside In where I do headlines from surrounding parishes. Well, out of New Orleans yesterday, or heading into the weekend, the National Transportation Safety Board has ruled that it was pilot disorientation. That actually came out late last week. Yeah. Well, I'll do that and tie it back in. Absolutely. My pleasure. Yes. Not coming in the studio. Riveter. Gotcha. Yep. Naquilla said Iberville isn't going to help. Elaborate on that. The New Roads Bridge diverts a whopping 27 cars a day. The New Roads Bridge is obsolete. The new Roach Bridge, that 22 miles versus 14 miles, that's a hill I'm willing to die on. Security is only as strong as the weakest link. If you have teachers propping up... Oh, getting back into that. Can the bridge have lanes for bikes and people? Dear God, I hope not, Debbie. Look, ooh. I mean, I'm all about tourism, but not for suicides. Like, the number of people who travel to San Francisco just to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge every year, they had to put a friggin' net on the damn thing. I don't, like, if you could make that to where there was like a pedestrian or a bike lane that was completely walled off to where you couldn't even see out. Will there be a way to get to the Iberville Bridge from I-10, or will we have to go down Highway 1? Okay, so there's a 415 connector that's already being worked on right now. And so 415 South, you know, where you get off 415 South, you go, you got like, what, 3 blocks worth of road before it ends? There's long since been talk, and now there's starting to be action to turn that into something that connects all the way to Highway 1. Well, now they got a location where they will, or can, or should connect it to Highway 1. So that's in the works. If they went from 415 all the way to 30, yeah, it would help. But the thing is, they're not looking to detract bridge or current I-10 bridge traffic over. They're looking to take the locals. If you live in Iberville or Ascension on the east side and you work on the west side, and they've already run the numbers on this to know how many folks they could get every day. But, okay, I don't know if it is an interstate road, though, because it's also going to be a toll road. Yeah, I know. That's another reason I'm excited about it. Let's get this done so we can show that this stuff works. All right, I got to hop off, y'all, because I didn't print the story on the Derek Todd Lee stuff, so I'll be back.
I sat outside for like maybe 20 minutes yesterday.
Yeah.
My shoulders are red.
Really?
After like 20 minutes. That's how pale I am, though.
Yeah, I was, I actually used sunscreen yesterday, but
I only put it on my
I was in the pool for a good minute. And, I get exhausted from it. Like, I adapt by the end of the summer, but at the beginning of the summer, you get me out there and I'm like... 738 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Thanks again to Trey Godfrey from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber for hopping on board to talk about narrowing down to 3 bridge locations. We're completely shifting gears here because our news partners over at WBRZ have taken on a project that I don't think anyone's going to want to miss. Derek Todd Lee, the Baton Rouge serial killer. This is a 30-minute special that will air tonight. Joining us now to talk about it is Bess Casserleigh from WBRZ. Bess, welcome back. How are you this morning?
Good morning. You're right. It's entirely too early to talk about serial killers.
A little bit, yes. Nonetheless, this is something, though, that, I mean, this is a part of our past, a very recent past. I mean, I know it feels like it's been forever, but it's still a part of our very recent past. And let's talk about, first of all, the motivation behind this. What made y'all want to hop on to covering this?
Well, speaking of recent past, today, May 31st, is actually the 20-year anniversary to the day of the Charlotte Murray Pace's body being found, and she was in the timeline of the Baton Rouge area serial killers, the second victim here in Baton Rouge, and that's why we wanted to air it tonight. But the reason why we wanted to do this at all is, you know, I came into work at the beginning of the year, and I said to my bosses, I was like, why hasn't Netflix come to Baton Rouge and done a series about how we had 3 serial killers functioning at the same time? It just seems like it would be one of the more compelling true crime series. Of course, we had Derek Todd Lee, Sean Gillis, and a lot of people don't know Jeffrey Guillory, all functioning in the late 90s, early 2000s. And my boss basically said to me, you know, we have all this archived footage. We have a huge, extensive library of everything, and we should really do this. So I decided, hey, let's see who I can get to interview 20 years later, and that's what we came up with. It's a really great 30-minute, it's going to take place of the 10 o'clock news tonight, so it is 30 minutes long. And it's got archive footage, it's got new interviews, people you've never heard from before, some new information you might not know. Of course, this one is centered around Derek Todd Lee, but we do look forward to doing different specials about maybe Sean Gillis and Jeffrey Guillory in the future.
I want to talk about Jeffrey Guillory before we're done here, but let's talk about the Derek Todd Lee. How is the approach here? Is it more from the investigative side, the timeline side, the public reaction side? What are we looking at for tonight?
So, you know, when you mentioned Derek Todd Lee to pretty much anyone who was in this area in the early 2000s, every single person I've mentioned that I'm doing this story to, they have their own story. Whether it's they got swabbed for DNA, or they know someone who did, or maybe they had some sort of scare. It is really crazy how many people were affected by this in the early 2000s, particularly women who, you know, locked their doors, made sure they did these extra precautions. Mace sold out in the area at the time. People were taking defense courses. So I did want to get some of that, you know, just so people who didn't grow up here, maybe people that were too young, get to know what that was like growing up here. And, of course, we also have investigators. David McDavid from Zachary was one of the police chief at Zachary. He was an investigator at the time, was one of the people who knew it was Derek Todd Lee before anyone would listen. In fact, he knew Derek Todd Lee was capable of these crimes 10 years before they even started. And we kind of delve into, you know, what if they had listened to Zachary Police Chief David McDavid, would all of these murders been prevented? We also speak to Dana Cummings, who was the assistant district attorney who prosecuted Derek Todd Lee's case, and she really was the lead in finding out about the DNA. This was one of the first cases in Baton Rouge that really used DNA in the way that it did to convict somebody. And without this DNA, honestly, it would have been a lot harder to pin Lee to all of these crimes and to find out who Lee even was, because one of the main issues we had, I'm sure you remember, is that for so long we were looking for a white man in a white truck because that's what a witness had said they had seen. And it wasn't until a lab in Florida said, hey, you know what, we tested this DNA. It looks like you're looking for an African-American, someone with African-American DNA, and that really just turned everything on its head. And we really just get to dive into that, and it is compelling to me, and I hope other people as well.
White man in a white truck was that was your everyday life. That's everybody was looking out for that. And when I want to say when Pam Kennemore was killed, I lived out in Old Jefferson at the time, and when Pam Kennemore was killed, that was kind of really the high alert for everybody else in every other area of town, because you had a couple of them that were close to LSU at the time. And then once it was like, wow, he's outside the neighborhood. He's out too. Well, she lived near us, but I believe worked in Denham Springs. So it just opened up the rest of the metro area to the potential danger and the fear.
100%. And we do actually get to speak to a few loved ones of Pam Kinnemore in this special tonight, and we get to dive into maybe how she became a victim, because you're right, she was out of the hunting circle, I guess you want to say. She was a little bit older than the other victims. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you know, when they found out that Pam Kinnemore was connected, it was kind of like, no one is safe. If you're a woman in Baton Rouge, you're not safe. So, yeah, and if you look at the victimology of some of his other victims, I mean, it really runs the gamut here, and we dive into that as well. And you know that he actually did attack people in Lafayette and outside that way. And, of course, we have victims that we don't even know that are connected as well. And we get to talk about that a little bit, too.
So, yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because oftentimes after a serial killer has been caught, tried, convicted, put to death, whatever, more comes out after the fact. How much have you been able to learn about the after-the-fact stuff that we didn't already know about?
You know, it's difficult because, as we know, he died in 2016, and from the get-go, he denied having any part in this. And he kind of just said, you know what, if I'm going to jail, I'm going to jail. I don't care. He really did not ever give investigators any confirmation into how many victims or if he even was responsible for any of the victims. And so, I mean, we have the five main ones that most people know about: Gina Wilson Green, Murray Pace, Pam Kinnemore, Yoder, and then Denisha Colomb in Lafayette. But there's also several that people might not know about, or maybe they know about, but definitely weren't confirmed to Derek Todd Lee, either because there wasn't DNA or they have just never found the body. And that's Christine Moore. She was a young LSU student running along the levee on River Road. They found her body also on River Road, never connected to him. Of course, a lot of people might remember Connie Warner and Rainey Niebuhr in Zachary, which is what I was talking about earlier. That's who David McDavid was focused on. He knew, hey, I think this is Derek Todd Lee. Mm-hmm. And then we had some other victims. I don't want to give everything away, but
no.
Yeah.
Look, I honestly, I don't think you could. I don't think you could. I think we're all going to be there either way. Those of us that lived through this, those of us that made all those little changes, all the husbands that made the extra lap around the house before going to bed at night. I mean, it was something that truly struck fear into all of this. We're talking with WBRZ's Bess Casserleigh about tonight's Derek Todd Lee special. All right, I got to ask you about the other two now. Got to ask you about Sean Vincent Gillis and Jeffrey Guillory, which, if you want to start on the Jeffrey Guillory when we know a guy, we we have a legal segment every Wednesday with attorney Franz Borchardt. I might be able to put you in contact with him.
Wow.
Yeah. How long before we're, not to get too far down the road, but how long before we see y'all open up these doors as well?
Well, I mean, we're really looking into doing this in a recurring manner, possibly even monthly, and we're going to open it up to more outside of serial killers, outside of murders. We want to look into cold cases, and we also kind of just want to use that extensive file footage that WBRZ has that I mentioned earlier, because we really do just have a lot of it, and I think people really do get a kick out of watching stuff that they may have remembered happening and just watching it so many years later. So I actually wrote a letter to Sean Gillis in jail a few months ago. He has talked to investigators. He's very open about his crimes, obviously, unlike Derek Todd Lee. Not going to say if I've heard back or not, but
okay.
You know, we are definitely going to be looking into that. Sean Gillis obviously was operating at the same time as Derek Todd Lee, but not a lot of people know about that. And there was a little bit of crossover of when they started doing the victimology. Some of Gillis's victims looked like they could have been Lee's, and Lee's looked like they could have been Gillis's. It's just really interesting time in Baton Rouge, and I really, like I said, Netflix, you got to come down here and do something.
Yeah, they absolutely do, although you're on it, so why share at this point? She is WBRZ's Bess Casserleigh. Derek Todd Lee, Baton Rouge's serial killer, airing at 10 o'clock tonight. Bess, thank you for hopping on board this morning.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break here, quick spot, then your money now. Going to check traffic. We're talking with Karen McCord next. Okay. Oh, man. Yeah, if you weren't in Baton Rouge at the time, it was every bit as frightening as it sounds. All right. Correct. So we're going to blow out outside in until later on. Right now, we're going to talk to Karen. Great. Come on in. I'm well. How are you?
So I'm like, YouTube. I'm glad I didn't come
And
to my shore.
well, yeah, we're always on YouTube.
You
So
want me to go here, there?
this microphone, just pull it on over and pull it around to where when we're having a conversation, we're pointing back at you.
Radio for 28
Well,
years.
he's-
I'm a radio child.
No, it's all unplugged. You don't even need them. We're just talking back and forth. So I'm gonna have mine on just to make sure you're at the right level. Well, actually, I'm gonna start. So I saw this segment of my show is called The Outside In. I'm blowing that out. We're gonna do that later. But in The Outside In, I look at headlines from around the surrounding parishes, and one of those headlines came out of New Orleans, where pilot disorientation is now listed as the. Okay.
Because I am named in the lawsuit because we owned the burial plot. And so that Carly's buried in.
Yeah.
Gives us the money for that. So we're
Okay.
So
Okay.
that is the reason why. So I can't comment on that. But I can talk about, you want to talk a little bit about Uvalde and public grief in the first 24 to 48 hours as to how, you need to respect the parents and that the parents
Yes.
are grieving and that you don't need to take a political spin on things right there. And as a nation, we should respect a 24 to 48 hour rule. We could really
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
you like that kind of conversation.
I absolutely do. Let's take it in that route.
So, because, we did experience a public tragedy that was in the media.
Mhm.
And, these people are making plans for funerals when they were thinking that, they were going to go to the next ball game.
Right.
And they're making plans for funerals, and we have in a nation who's fighting over gun control or whose fault it is or what fault it is. For 24 to 48 hours, we should just let the authorities do their business and do their job. And does that make sense?
It does. It does. My apologies. I've got about 8 text threads this morning.
Take this pink ribbon off my eyes.
753 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Normally at this time on the show, we check in on the outside or the surrounding area with the outside in. I'm going to take this in a different route because I've got Karen McCord in studio. Karen, welcome. How are you?
Welcome. I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing very good. Let's
Good.
get her mic a little bit hotter this morning. So, I've got you in here to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about Carly in just a minute, but I want to start with you were telling me during the break you're not allowed to comment on this, but there is news coming out of New Orleans that the National Transportation and Safety Board has ruled that pilot disorientation was the probable cause of the plane crash that took Carly from us. And we'll talk about that during the outside end later on. But I wanted to talk with you about the personal end of this. And you were bringing this up with me, and it sparked a whole lot of conversation in my mind. We're coming off of another school shooting,
correct?
A public tragedy, a massacre in a school, and everyone has a take. And normally, our takes, we share them on Facebook. We spit out whatever comes out of our minds without thinking about the families that are involved. Speaking to someone who is a family who was involved in something that went very, very public, very, very fast, what message would you have for basically all of us in this time?
Right. And, I do have many thoughts on this, Brian. First of all, the very first thing is that we found out about Carly's death through the media.
Mm-hmm.
No one called us. No one talked to us. The world knew before we knew. And that is a situation that I just don't wish upon anybody.
Yeah.
And, I can remember being in Fresh Market, finding out from one of Carly's friends, calling my husband. My husband didn't know anything. And we tried to call the coroner's office. They wouldn't speak to us. We knew the hospital, there was one survivor. They wouldn't even tell us if it was a male or a female at that time. So we were in the dark. And meanwhile, it was being reported all over the news. We tried to shut down televisions and that sort of thing to run to the grandparents to tell them, and before they could hear it on news media as well. So one thing that I can say as a nation that we could do is that when we are experiencing a public tragedy, and please understand, I know this was a shooting and this was a plane crash, two totally different things.
Completely,
I understand. But they're very public. And for the first 24 to 48 hours, we shouldn't be pushing agendas. We should give the respect to the families so that they could figure out what went wrong, what loved ones were killed and what loved ones weren't. Were their loved ones killed? Did their loved ones survive? And the other thing is that we just really need to give them thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers matter at that moment. I have never said so many Our Fathers, Hail Marys with so many people as in that moment. Mm-hmm. In that moment, thoughts and prayers, are just the things that you hold on to. And then you got to remember that we were watching Joe Biden's speech to the nation.
Yes.
Okay? And whether you love Joe Biden, whether you hate Joe Biden, this is not a for Joe Biden or against Joe Biden or, any of that kind of thing. We were watching it, and my son was standing next to me. And my son Carson looked at me and he said, this could be Joe Biden's finest hour. Mm-hmm. And he started out with talking about losing a child and how hard it is. But within 1 minute, he had another agenda.
No, it was so right out the blocks, made it about himself. And then, there was no self. No.
Right.
I need to not walk down that road because I will take a pro or anti-Joe Biden stance very, very quickly. But yes, there's not enough time to mourn. There's not enough time to be reflective. There's not enough time to see the forest through the trees and find a better solution at a time like this. But more importantly, there's never a time where we put our own ego on the shelf.
Right. That is exactly right. These people, you got to remember, a lot of these parents in 24 to 48 hours, like Tracy and I did, they're preparing for her funeral.
Yeah.
We are making funeral arrangements while the world is complaining about gun control. And, for the first 24 to 48 hours, did we watch the news? The news was on constantly because you want to make sure that you know what is going on, what you're in the middle of, what the pulse is going on at that time and what is being said. But you're also in the middle of picking out an urn or a coffin for your child. Mm-hmm. Who's going to read Mike Detillier and Matt Moscona because they read at her wedding. You are doing details that the public are not even aware of. And so to come in here and watch on television the fight about gun control or this or that or the other thing. Yes, it needs to be discussed, but not in the 24 to 48 hours that we've had.
Right.
You need to give the family those respect, that respect.
Could not agree more. I could not agree more. We're going to have to meet news here in a little bit.
Yes.
We're going to be late for news. I'm already predicting that, but it's okay. Let's talk about what's being done to carry on Carly's legacy. There's a couple different things, but I believe something just wrapped up, and we have to wait till July. I missed my window already.
Yes, you did. You did. Well, we did a little line called Little Luann Rainbows Collection, and it's a collection made in honor of Carly, and she chose it because she loved Drew Moscona.
Mhm.
And Drew Moscona, as you know, is Matt's son, who has a heart defect.
Yes.
And so the first funds went to Drew, and this year the funds, everything, 100% of the rainbow line is going to go to a little young lady named Claire Brazon, and hopefully we'll be able to pay for her tuition or her nursing care or something to that effect.
Let's before I get you out of here, why is it called the Rainbow Collection?
You know that
I
because
do.
Carly left us a roadmap to live by.
Mhm.
It was her last words, and that roadmap said, "Only rainbows after rain, the sun will always come again." And those were her last words. That was her last Instagram post, and it was from a song from Andy Grammer. She loved Andy Grammer. She actually sang with Andy Grammer. She actually knew Andy Grammer. And I always say that was the roadmap she left us. Mom, don't be sad, because only rainbows after rain. It's going to rain, but the sun's going to come out again.
She is a light that stays with us to this day, and hopefully never leaves us. Thank you so much for stopping by this morning.
Thank you for
Hey,
having me.
when the Rainbow Collection pops back out again, you gonna swing back by?
If you invite me, I'll be here.
You are invited. You know
Hey,
that.
sounds good.
She is Karen McCord. We are super late for news. Don't care. Here's CBS on Talk 107.3. Thank you so much for that.
Did that help you?
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
Was
That's
that
great.
a little bit more of a news and a little different angle?
Yes, it was. Yes,
Okay.
it was. Yeah. It was Carly and I knew each other up here. I always felt like I wasn't close enough to have a take or whatever, but I just let those who are closest to her.
Yeah, but I've heard your name. I mean,
Well, yeah, and it was. We used to have the best interactions, just the random, like.
Oh, she was random.
Oh, no, totally.
Funny, goofy, silly,
Totally.
random.
Yeah.
Y'all did so well. We were watching on the.
Oh, you were you? Thank you.
It sounded okay?
Sounded great.
Oh,
That was a
good.
it was
How
a
do I
great
get
angle
that?
for today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did it? Was it good? Was that just a little bit of a different, and I'm
perfect
sorry I can't comment.
No,
on that.
no, it's fine. It's absolutely
yes,
fine.
that's what we were, that's not preliminary findings. That's
They said
probably,
probable
you know,
cause. I don't know how you get from probable to definitive, but
I
don't know
was-
if you can.
I was saying real quickly that the NCIS, is it NCIS? Is that what it is? NCIS. Well, if they did school shootings like they did
NTSB.
NTSB, that's what it is. If they did school shootings like they did plane crashes, you wouldn't have the school shootings you had today, because they would go through every angle and figure out everything and end school violence.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I just want to tell you that was awesome.
It really was.
Absolutely. Yes, as soon as the show's over. Yeah. As soon as the show's over, you got to fast forward to almost 2 hours into the show. But yeah, Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube. Show's over at 9. Bye. Thank you, Karen. You too. Did I have any May dates for baseball? Did I do anything in May? I don't think I worked in May. The game that rained out and picked up Saturday morning. Now, do you remember what game that was? Yeah, me neither. You don't need to. I got the full schedule coming up here. Let's see. No, not Vanderbilt. It was Ole Miss. Yeah, Ole Miss. Okay. Do what? Weather. That weather. Yes. Yeah, it's vacation week. Everybody's left town. Oh, is he? He gives us. Well. Do you have this day in history? .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Hey, thanks again to Karen McCord for stopping by. Never an easy topic to talk about, but man, I appreciate her taking that on and the angle with which we were talking about that, because it is very they're not the same, but similarities. It's not a direct parallel, but there are things you could take away from one event and apply them to the other. And at the end of the day, it's respect the families. I mean, we're past that 48-hour window by now, but was it really that important to you to fire off your social media post because your take is hotter than everybody else's? I don't care what side of the fence you're on with that. Just hold off. Slow down. Be nice to know that we're not all important, all encompassing. All right, this hour we've got a lot of ground to cover. So normally in the third hour of the show on Tuesdays we speak with Congressman Troy Carter for DC Current. The congressman had some congressional business pop up. He is not going to be able to join us. That's okay though, because I was looking for a spot to replay Medical Monday. We do Medical Monday with the folks over at Our Lady of the Lake every single Monday. Well, Monday was a holiday, so that is going to play back later on this hour. Also this hour, we're going to talk a little bit more about the bridge, and we're going to talk about jobs, unemployment, and where we're at in Baton Rouge. Also, we missed the outside in our last hour, so we'll do that in the next segment as well. Right now, though, to keep us on time, every day at this time, Alondra walks us back in time with this day in history. All right, what you got, Alondra?
All right, Brian. On this day in history, the first one that I have, 1578, Martin Frobisher sails from Harwich, England.
To where?
To Frobisher Bay, Canada.
Okay.
And he eventually mines fool's gold. And
no.
Yes.
Aww.
What a fool.
Ah, nice.
Thank you. And it was famously used to pave the streets of London. So if you go to London, there's some fool's gold in the streets.
Very nice.
In 1910, the Union of South Africa declares its independence from the United Kingdom.
I like it.
Yep.
I like anybody declaring independence. I mean, they didn't have the
Me
best
too.
track record after that.
No, but,
Independence was
we're talking about 1910
a very
right
relative
now.
term at that point.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's irrelevant.
Yes.
Elon Musk came from there, and I love him.
Well,
So-
we all do.
And then on this day, in 1922, the Tulsa Race Massacre began in Oklahoma.
Yes. The Tulsa Race Massacre, mobs of both African Americans and whites descended on the courthouse where a black man who was accused of assaulting a white woman was being held. In the ensuing violence, Tulsa's prosperous black neighborhood of Greenwood was destroyed. This was something that, just backstory-wise, I had no idea about. I did not know about the Tulsa race riots or the Tulsa Massacre. I didn't know about Black Wall. I didn't know about any of it until about 2 years ago.
Wait, really?
Seriously.
That's shocking.
Went through, I think I got a pretty decent education.
I mean, if you don't know about the Tulsa Race Massacre,
until about 2 years ago.
I can't
I'm willing
really
to own
defend that.
I'll own it. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm there now.
I got one more for you.
Yeah.
On this day in 1962, the state of Israel hanged German official Adolf Eichmann.
Yes.
Who escaped from a prison camp in 1946 and spent some 14 years in hiding for his part in the Nazi extermination of Jews during World War II.
Can I add one more to the list here?
Of course.
On this day in 2005, we found out who Deep Throat was.
Oh, my God.
From the Nixon investigation.
Don't Urban Dictionary that.
No.
Don't.
No. Completely different version here.
Can we operatively define?
Mark Felt, former FBI agent Mark Felt, he outed himself as Deep Throat on this day in 2005.
Who came up with that code name?
That was a code name for this a lot longer.
With them because
well before it was a code name for anything else. I know.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and flip the page to some birthdays.
Please.
On this day in 1930, Clint Eastwood was born. He's an old man.
Well, there's older, but yeah.
Yep.
So, wait. No. Okay. Hang on, I completely forgot. On this day in 1859,
yes,
the Philadelphia A's organized to play a game called Town Ball.
Okay,
Town Ball,
tell me more.
20 years later, would become baseball.
I cannot believe that I missed out on the invention of baseball.
Yeah. Take that. Oh, and this day in 1985. Sorry, one other sports note, but I got to keep it local.
Go ahead.
One other sports note. On this day in 1985,
yes,
the New Orleans Saints were sold to Tom Benson for $70,204,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Paid in nickels. Little known fact.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. I almost believed you for a second.
It's all good. It's all good.
All right. And in 1938, Johnny Paycheck, country singer, was born on this day. In 1943, Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Namath was born. In 1948, if you ask me, Hall of Fame drummer John Bonham of Led Zeppelin.
Yes.
In 1965, Brooke Shields, and in 1976, Colin Farrell.
I got Colin Farrell down.
Yep. And if you don't have anything to add,
I do.
Okay.
Oh, come on, when do I not?
I'm just,
All right. Born on this day in 1819.
Yes.
Walt Whitman.
See, I just skipped the ones that I don't know.
Well, you need to know Walt Whitman. You need to know Leaves of Grass. It's very important for life. 1985, Jordy Nelson, former Packers wide receiver. You had former Indians outfielder Kenny Lofton in 1967. I do not have any LSU birthdays, or I might have missed one as I was going through the list.
Yep.
But also born on this day is DMC from Run DMC.
Wow.
Yeah. Friend of the show.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is he now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Had him on. He wrote a children's book. It's Run DMC. Daryl McDaniels, American rapper Daryl McDaniels, born on this day in 1964.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, big time.
All right.
Got to catch up with my boy DMC because I had him on once for 7 minutes. Makes us besties.
Yeah. Is he on the Wall of Fame?
He will be. He will be.
Is he a B-list?
We got no. He's not B-list. Okay. But we got to get him up there. We got to get the Wall of Fame going.
All right. Deaths in 1837. Joseph Grimaldi. I added this one. It's a little fun. Joseph Grimaldi died on this day in 1837. He is also known as the greatest clown in history.
Really? Interesting.
I don't know what made him such a great clown, but
so I
like that.
I worked for a clown for about 25 years.
No.
I did. It's a true story.
Okay, I couldn't tell if you were like, he's
no,
a clown.
I was Ronald McDonald's body man for 25 years.
That might be my favorite Brian.
Oh, there's
fun fact.
You know what? YouTube, get ready because we're going to tell Ronald McDonald stories during the break.
Okay.
So I would work sound.
I love this.
I would work sound for Ronald McDonald, and then like he'd do little shows at like libraries and schools and whatnot.
Yeah.
And after the show was over, my job was to get the equipment put away real quick, and then make sure like nobody was attacking Ronald. Make sure that nobody was going after the wig or anything like that.
Love that for Ronald.
Yep.
All right, in 1910, Elizabeth Blackwell passed away. She was the first woman to receive a medical degree.
Okay.
And in 1983, Jack Dempsey, world heavyweight champion of the world.
Heavyweight champion of the world?
I don't know.
Okay.
He passed away. And in 1997, Rosie Will Monroe, also known as Rosie the Riveter.
Glad you had that one.
If you don't know who that is.
Yes.
Passed away. And in 2010, Chris Haney, or the inventor of Trivial Pursuit, passed away.
Oh, wow.
This day. I know, I love Trivial Pursuit.
That's a nice little piece of trivia you got there.
Oh, I like that. Ties it back in. And that is it for your On This Day in History facts. Thank you.
Do you have any national days for today?
No, I forgot about those. I'm not going to lie to you or to our audience.
All good. Oh, National Macaroon Day, and we don't need the rest of them.
All right.
All right, quick break. Coming back next on Talk 107.3. Okay, so do I have an interview that I had no idea about?
I'm about to call I'm about to answer it right now because I was like, I don't know. What if it's Troy Carter?
Huh?
What if it's Troy Carter?
If it's who?
Talk 107.3. Okay, give me 1 second. All right, we just went to break, so I'm just gonna throw you on hold, and we'll have you on in a couple minutes. Okay, thank you.
I have got to stop drunk texting legislators.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I can't tell you how much I love that.
I was like, I don't have an 815. What am I going to do? Oh, I'll text Jack McFarland. Because he had a bill that was...
Oh, yeah. Brian.
And I'm going to want a soundbite out of this to make a promo out of.
Okay. Got you. What?
Representative McFarland, you got a lot of important work done this session, but you also made it legal for us to fish for catfish by hand. Hand grabbing of catfish. I got to figure out how I'm going to word it to make it. All right. Am I back on YouTube? Am I on? No, I mean my microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. What's going on, YouTube? Not Bozo the Clown. He was the greatest clown.
I don't know. They say that, they say Joseph Grimaldi was.
Okay, but was Joseph Grimaldi...
Bozo? I don't know.
Peter Light. Yeah, this was a London club. 819, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Time to check in on the legislative session. I know we've got a lot of ground to cover beyond this. We'll get to all of it before the show is over with, I promise. Right now, though, I want to welcome back to the show State Representative Jack McFarland. Representative McFarland, welcome back, sir. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, Brian. I hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, yes, I did. I had a restful Memorial Day weekend, to say the least. Makes it difficult to get back into, like, full swing on a Tuesday morning. I don't know why that one extra day throws it off when the alarm goes off at 3:30 a.m., but there it is. How about yourself?
Same here. I spent as much time as I could on the lake and enjoyed the sun.
Very nice. But it's back to work for one more week. We got a lot going on. You know, Representative McFarland, a lot of very important work has gotten done in the state legislature this year, but I got to commend you here. You got a bill through that basically makes fishing for catfish by hand legal. I got to ask, how was that illegal to begin with?
Well, Department of Wildlife and Fisheries come to me with two problems. One was addressing using brim, allowing the use of minnow traps to capture brim to use for non-commercial bait rather than using non-invasive bait. And then the other was catfish noodling. Because it's become so popular, there have been some questions arise as to, was this a legal method for taking catfish? Well, it shouldn't have been a controversy, but, to make sure we prevent it, we just said, look, it is a legal way to take catfish so that we avoid any controversy.
Okay, so noodling was never fully illegal. We just wanted to clear up any kind of gray area, muddy water, if you will.
That's exactly right. If you leave something open to interpretation, then inevitably there will be an issue. So the goal was to make sure we don't have an issue.
Fair enough. I like it. I don't know who in Louisiana is bold enough to stick their hands in our water. I know we got a lot more creepy crawlies down there, a lot more things under the water than some of the areas where the noodling is popular. But more power to them if they're willing to get after it.
Brian, you'll be surprised. It has become a very popular sporting event, not just in Central and North Louisiana, but I see it on YouTube all over Louisiana now. And hey, look, you may want to try it sometime. You never know.
That is a leap of faith that I don't know that I'm ready for yet. And yeah, it's super popular in Alabama. So anytime we can raise the stakes to beat Alabama at something, I'm in.
Yeah, and look, and at least now you won't get a ticket for it if you go and do it.
Plain and simple. I like it. Doing the important work out of you are doing a lot of important work out of the Capitol as well. What else from your proposed legislation has made its way through the process to the governor's desk?
One thing I'm proud of is the return to work. This is getting teachers into a classroom. And look, this gets back to the real work, Brian. I know the catfish noodling's fun to talk about, but the real work is we have a shortage of teachers in Louisiana. We have a lot of retired teachers who are willing to come back to work, but the way our statutes are written right now is that they can only return for 25%. So what we're doing is what I've done is create a provision where if they retired between 2010 and 2020, they can come back, teach a class, or teach in the classroom. They can still get their retirement and draw a salary. We did this only for critical shortages. but it also has a sunset, gives us time to hopefully get more young people into teaching and into a classroom. But it's an important piece that we needed to fill some voids, and there are a lot of retired teachers that want to get back in the classroom.
Yes, there are, and this is an important time for this, and it's absolutely needed. What I liked about this bill, and it's was it HB 835 was what it was. What I liked about this bill was it's simple and straightforward. Cuts through a lot of the nonsense when you talk about being paid while getting your pension. To me, this seems like it would have been a tough hurdle to cross to make the sell on the House floor. How did you approach this, and what kind of support did you get along the way?
Look, so I sat down with the teachers' retirement system, TRSL, because we want to make sure that we don't create any actuarial fiscal problems for the state. So they've been a great partner in sitting down and working through this, as well as the school board superintendents and the teachers' associations. Sat down with all three, tried to find some common ground, something we could do that wouldn't hurt the state or the retirement system in a negative way. And I think we did that, found an avenue to get these teachers back in the classroom. And because, look, I get calls every day from retired teachers that want to be back in the classroom, but they just can't for 25%. Right. And now, even though they will be able to continue to draw their retirement and a teacher's salary, at the end, they do have to pay into the retirement system, but at the end of the year, they can get what they've paid in back. So it doesn't negatively affect us. But look, I'm glad it's sitting on the governor's desk. Senator Cleo Fields has a bill very similar to it. So hopefully the governor will sign one or both of the bills.
One can only hope so. Now, there's a bigger question that needs to be raised. Now, this is a stopgap measure, to be sure. Are there other bills out there that are hoping to shore up the number of teachers we have right now, or does this appear to be a problem that is going to even itself out eventually?
No. So one thing we did do was Senator Barrow Peacock, we amended my legislation depends upon the passage of his bill as well. What his bill does is that if you have a degree, let's say you have a degree in business and you decide you want to teach school, then you can come in, they can employ you, and there's a method for you becoming a certified teacher and allowing you to go ahead and start teaching. Now, look, maybe you've been in business, maybe you had a degree in math or some area of expertise, but it allows for you to go ahead and begin teaching while also getting your teacher certificate. That's been something we haven't been able to do. So I think there's a lot of people out there with a lot of degrees that maybe haven't thought about utilizing them as a way to teach school. And so hopefully this will encourage some of those individuals who maybe have lost a job, maybe they're looking for other employment, maybe they got a degree and they haven't been able to find a job like they wanted. Maybe some of these individuals will look now at teaching, and this will be a quicker method for getting them in a classroom.
I like it. State Representative Jack McFarland's our guest. Representative McFarland, I know this is such a layperson's take on it, but when I look at a bill at this point in the session, and I see sent to the governor as its status, and it's only got one version, no amendments, no engrossed, no rewrites, no nothing, and that's what your teacher's bill is. I mean, that tells me a lot of care went into the cultivation of it on the front end.
We did, and we've worked hard on it. Now, I want to make sure you're looking at the right bill. This is House Bill 1021.
Oh, no, I was looking at 835. Sorry, I was looking at 835.
Yeah, no, we took in, House Bill 1021 is the one we sat down with all the stakeholders, and it did take a lot of work on the front end and in the process to get it in the posture that that everyone could accept it as, and to make sure, like I said, it didn't have a negative actuary issue with our teachers' retirement system.
Well, another one that got a lot of amendments along the way, a lot of contribution and input along the way, involves green energy, talking about HB 708. This provides for the legislative findings and defines biomass within the Louisiana Renewable Energy Development Act. What does this one do?
So, in light of all the clean energy that's being discussed now throughout the world, throughout our nation, and even with our current president. Part of what his initiatives that he's pushed for, and with the technology now that we've developed, Louisiana is, we have some of the greatest natural resources here. One of them being timber and forest products. Timber, as you know, or trees sequester 25% of all the carbon dioxide in the world every day. Louisiana, fortunately, has 48% of our state covered in timberlands, 14 million acres. And what our goal was is that, we've utilized biomass for years here as a way to produce energy. And in 2015, when the Louisiana Renewable Energy Act was passed, it mentions and talks about biomass, but it never defined it. So what we did is we went in and defined biomass and put in the language in there to, state what biomass is and how its ability to capture carbon and sequester it in trees, and how it's a renewable resource.
I mean, it sounds like your mission this session was just to clear up confusion.
Well, it is, and that's always should be our goal. Is that is to make ourselves better. That as we look at laws and things that's been developed, and over time, like I said, even with this, that was passed in 2015, and look at the technology we have now and our ability to produce clean energy utilizing forest or timber products. So I think that anytime we're doing that, no matter what the legislation is, that we're moving Louisiana forward.
He is State Representative Jack McFarland. 1 week to go. We'll get you back on after the session for kind of a recap, if that's all right.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Always. State Representative Jack McFarland. Clearing it up. I mean, had to talk about noodling. There's no way I don't start with fishing for catfish by hand, right? All right, quick break for news. Coming back next on Talk 107.3. So when you play that, you'll kill my mic and let that play over the YouTube stream as well? Yeah, I am. Which means we're going to have 19 things to cover in the final segment. No. After the break, come straight to me for weather. Or no, play the bumper, I'll do weather, and I'll toss to Medical Monday. Because it's going to sound stupid for Medical Monday to air on Tuesday. Now, what the hell were we talking about? Oh, also, I haven't done my... How long is that? No. Oh, my mic is hot right now. All good. Uh-huh. I mean, what do we do here? What do we do here? What do we go explore downtown Hattiesburg? Do we go to what's the burger joint that was in Baton Rouge for a hot minute? Mug Shots. I'm sorry, say that again. Shit. All right. Well, screw it. We got to hit everything. And I haven't done a live read yet. What live reads do I have today? Yeah. No Baton Rouge mattress yet? All right, then. I was told I did not curse on the air, so that's a good thing. Yeah. I got lunch with them today. Oh, I got way too many lunches this week. I'm going to be so overweight and fat when I go weigh in on Friday. Yeah, if I do something crazy like don't drink all week long. Whatever. All right, so we're blowing out the outside in altogether. That's a no-go. Oh. Jesus Christ. .837 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We're going to get you to our Medical Monday segment in just a second, but we got to recap that forecast real quick. Looking at a high of 88 today. Overnight low tonight only getting down to 72. We've got a 58% chance of rain in the forecast, and it's looking like it's going to be throughout the afternoon. From about 1 p.m. through 6 p.m., we've got a chance of rain throughout the metro area. Tomorrow we top out at 90. Thursday, 91. Friday up at 90 as well. Love recapping a short week. Right now, we're at 80 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. So, summertime is fully upon us. We need to talk a little summer safety. Every Monday on Talk 107.3 FM, we do our Medical Monday segment with Our Lady of the Lake. Here's the thing, though. Well, number one, we do it in the 7 o'clock hour. And number two, we didn't have a show on Monday. It was the best of. So, without further ado, yes, I'm fully aware that today is Tuesday. But magically, it's going to be Medical Monday.
It's time for Medical Monday, brought to you in the interest of your health by Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center.
Yes, it is time for Medical Monday, and it's getting to be about that time of year. We are going to be talking about, being outside a little bit too much and heat-related illnesses. Time to welcome Dr. Megan Stryker to the show. Dr. Stryker, good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
No, glad to have you on here. This is an important thing. You think it would all be routine in South Louisiana at this point, but it is that time of year, and it's time to start talking about things like heat-related illnesses. So let's dive right in. When it comes to heat illnesses, how common are they in South Louisiana?
Unfortunately, exquisitely common. So in the United States, almost 1,000 people die every year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a lot of preventable deaths from things that we can do every day to help prevent those deaths. In Louisiana, it's very common that most people are acclimated to the heat, but at the beginning of the summer, especially in a hot summer like we're having currently, it's important to start those behaviors now instead of waiting until August. Things like drinking plenty of water, staying inside when you're able to, and avoiding those times of the day between 11 and 2 when the sun is really brutal.
Let's start with the drinking of the water part, because this is one I go through about 3/4 of a gallon of water a day, and I think a lot of people get the misconception that if you just chug a whole bunch of water all at once, you're good to go.
Sure, so that's a really good point, that most people kind of want to combine it all at once, but the most important thing is to stay hydrated throughout the day. And one of the things you can do is there are all sorts of products to help remind you to drink water, but most patients do well drinking to thirst, meaning if you feel thirsty, make sure you have a bottle of water or something to replace that desire to drink something. And one thing you can do is keep a ice cold bottle of water near you, a water bottle that, you know, a lot of them have markings and goals of water drinking, and that's all well and good, but you really need to make sure you're urinating frequently, which can prove to you that you're drinking enough water, as if you're going to the bathroom at least 2 to 3 times a day. More often, if you're out in the sun and expending a lot of energy, you should be drinking enough to increase that.
The water would be taking care of things internally. Let's talk externally. What about sunscreen? Is it necessary to use it? And, well, what kind of exposure to the sun do you need before sunscreen's necessary?
Any exposure, you should technically wear sunscreen every day, all day. However, that's not realistic. So what I encourage my patients to do is think about sun avoidance. So whether it's hats, SPF graded sun wear like shirts or even swim shirts and rash guards. But your ideal goal is to be using SPF 15 or greater. That's your number, is 15. Anything below that is just for show. And greater than that, it really just depends on the need for reapplication. So generally speaking, a higher grade SPF maybe needs to be applied less frequently. But if you're out in the water or if you're sweating heavily, every 2 hours you should be reapplying. And this applies to everyone 6 months and older, so no sunscreen for babies.
Oh, good to note. Good to note. Hey, since you mentioned everyone 6 months and older, when it comes to heat-related illnesses, are there certain sects of the population that are more susceptible than others?
Certainly. So when you're thinking about patients in general or friends and family members, those that are younger definitely need more hydration. Kiddos and little ones that are running around are going to be expending much more energy and need more hydration. But also pregnant people, older folks, make sure you're checking on your family members, make sure that their air condition is working. That can all help prevent heat-related illnesses. And the most important thing, especially for families with children, is remember that hot cars are one of the most dangerous places for children in the summertime. So the internal temperature inside of a car can be upwards of 20 degrees warmer inside a vehicle that has been sitting in the sun versus outside a vehicle. So be mindful of keeping children and pets out of hot cars to help prevent those risks for heat exhaustion or stroke.
So walking us through heat exhaustion and stroke, can we walk through what a few of the different types of heat-related illnesses are and how detrimental they can be?
So that's a good question. So the two major forms of heat-related illness as far as from a clinician standpoint is things like heat exhaustion or heat stroke. Heat exhaustion is what most people suffer from when they're out in the sun. Their mouth becomes dry, their skin may become pale, they're still sweating, but they're overheated, maybe flushed, and run down, feel very thirsty and tired, and need to go inside immediately. The other side of the spectrum is someone who's suffering from heat stroke, which is severe heat exhaustion that's associated with temperatures greater than 103 degrees Fahrenheit. So these are very, very overheated individuals who cannot use sweating or anything to help them cool down. Most of the time, these patients you'll see may be confused. If you come across someone whose skin is very dry, they're very confused. Sometimes they can be convulsing. It looks like seizure activity, but these people need immediate medical attention as soon as possible. So in addition to cooling down anyone who looks overheated, these people need to be seen by a medical professional, and you need to call 911 to have them evaluated immediately.
How difficult
Because
is that?
it can-
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay, because it can lead to brain damage and things like that. So that's the purpose of having immediate intervention. So get them inside, make sure they're under a fan. You can use cold towels. Ideally, if you can submerge them in cool water, but that can be dangerous in itself. So usually we recommend cool towels, fans, air condition, and water if they're alert enough to drink.
You say that can be dangerous. Is that similar like when somebody's too cold, getting them too hot too soon is bad? Would that be the same in reverse?
That's a good thought. Not necessarily. So in this case, we want someone to cool down as soon as possible. So whether that's rapidly submerging them in cool water, it's not quite like the concerns with frostbite. At this point, we want rapid cooling to prevent overheating of vital organs, like your heart, lung, kidney, and brain.
How difficult is a heat-related illness? How difficult is that to self-diagnose?
Well, it would depend on the severity of, I guess, your symptoms. But if you notice you're outside, you keep drinking water, you feel like you're not quite keeping up with either your energy levels or you feel like you're continuing to be hot despite moving inside, those are the types of things you want to increase your water intake and reach out to a family member or a friend and let them know you've been outside, you've been overheated, and that they may need to come and check on you.
We're talking with Dr. Megan Stryker. I don't want to make this whole thing about the heat-related illnesses because summertime means a lot of different things in Louisiana. I just knew that was going to fascinate me because we see it all too often, and it can fly under the radar from time to time. Let's shift gears a little bit. West Nile kind of took a back seat, hasn't been in the headlines too much, but mosquitoes do still present a problem in Baton Rouge. From your perspective, are mosquito-borne illnesses still something that people should be, alert for?
Unfortunately, yes. However, those scary concerns with Zika and other pregnancy-related outcomes from patients who have been exposed to viruses that are mosquito-borne have lessened in the last few years, especially during COVID when everybody has been inside and maybe not out or about in public as often in big gatherings in the evenings. However, it's still very important to protect yourself against mosquito-borne illnesses by preventing mosquito bites. So that's the goal, is avoiding areas or times of day when there may be more mosquitoes present, which is unfortunately in southeast Louisiana pretty common. So early morning hours, evening hours, around dusk, those are all times when you're at high risk for succumbing to large volumes of mosquito bites. Being around large volumes of bodies of water or even smaller areas of standing water in either bird baths, swimming pools, standing puddles, or bayous, you're at risk of being around more mosquitoes, especially if you're not in an area that has a slight breeze or has been treated by mosquito abatement programs where they spray for mosquito larvae.
Yeah, fortunately, within city limits here, we do have within the city parish, we have pretty great mosquito abatement. But outside of East Baton Rouge and some of the surrounding parishes, it can get kind of hairy. Dr. Stryker, what else should we be on the lookout in the summertime?
Well, generally speaking, making sure that you stay hydrated. Think about safety if you're going to be out on a playground or out on a boat, if you're in a pool, wherever it is that you will be taking place. Make sure if you're consuming alcohol, consume it responsibly. Make sure that you spend as much time as you can out with family and friends, but keep yourself protected when you're able to. And stay indoors when you need to and have fun.
I like the fact that you preceded the consuming alcohol with an if. That's a serious vote of confidence there and a lot of faith in me. Hey, is it too soon to look forward to 4th of July?
Absolutely not. It never is.
What should we know from a safety perspective there?
So fireworks and children is a recipe for a problem. So fireworks are fun to watch, and they're fun to partake in when you get older, but the young ones under 5, you really should avoid letting them play with fireworks. So the majority of firework-related injuries occur in children under the age of 5, and it's usually from sparklers, which most parents, myself included, historically believe that sparklers were a safer alternative to, quote, shooting fireworks, So supervising any children around fireworks, making sure that they know that it's fun to watch and that they can watch from the sidelines, and really just avoiding unsupervised play, really. Most children who are around fireworks are appropriately fearful, but you have those 1 or 2 who just want to get in there, and there's always injuries to hands, face, neck, burn injuries.
As Dr. Stryker, appreciate the time for Medical Monday, even if it is on a Tuesday. If you missed any of that or wanted to catch it again, a lot of good stuff in the summertime. I know one would hope we could get to it before Memorial Day, as a lot of folks were guilty of so many of those things just yesterday. That'll be available on demand at talk1073.com almost immediately after the show is over with. We've got more ground to cover before we get out of here, but we are going to have to take a break in just a second. I do want to remind you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. 2 locations, Plank Road in Zachary and Perkins just east of Bluebonnet. 768-9898 is the phone number, 768-9898. Certified by more than a dozen major car manufacturers and the iCar Gold Class certification. Learn more about that at CompleteCollision.com, CompleteCollision.com. More coming up next. I don't have it coming back through my headphones. There it is. Cool. Byron says, so bottom line, always have cold beer on hand when you're in the sun for a long period of time. Oh, goodness. That accident on 12, do you know if there was a fatality? If I email you a picture, you think you can get it up on the screen behind me? All right. Well, do you have a... There you are. Yes. Byron says, Franz agreeing to be on Netflix? He's far too shy. So we're going to talk about it tomorrow, obviously. It's so weird not having a Monday and a Tuesday. Yeah, I know, but I'm going to be out of kilter all week long. Should have Hill or Moore on tomorrow. First Wednesday of every month. We bring the district attorney's office on. Me too. as soon as we come back in. Ooh, snap. Stop it, Brian. Damn. I know. 5 minutes to go, and I'm hitting this wall. Ugh! Many of our roofs are still in Grand Isle from before the storm. Of course, now they're on the ground about a quarter of a mile up from where the house they were on was. But, you know, they're still in Grand Isle. How about Condon actively admitting he's a troll? He's going to follow the mayor's Facebook to see what she doesn't post. No, from a radio host standpoint, you know how annoying that is? Like, I do top stories and trending every single day, right? 5 stories. Whichever one I don't talk about is the one that I'm going to get an email about. How come you didn't talk about? Shut up! But he openly admits it. I'm going to follow the mayor and talk about whatever she doesn't talk about. Just waiting to pounce. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. One segment to go here on Mornings with Brian Haldane. Going to get out of here in just a little bit. I do want to, if you're watching us on YouTube, I do want to direct your attention to the big screen behind me. Taylor's been reporting on that accident on I-12 all morning long, and the problems it's been causing. Shout out to Pat listening right now who sent us in a picture, and we will get a full screen view of that. Look at this thing. I mean, I know if you're on radio you can't look at it, but my word. That's amazing that we didn't have fatalities reported with this. If you're listening on radio, basically at what is that, a 4Runner? It's a gray 4Runner, and everything from the windshield down, like hood-wise, is gone.
Yeah.
Like the entire engine is gone.
Yeah.
All the windows blown out, windshield gone, like everything where your engine would be, gone.
Yeah. I was in an accident similar to that.
Oh.
Like very similar to that. Windshield gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're lucky.
Yeah, unbelievably so. And so, not to make this about one of the sponsors of the show, but this is the kind of stuff we talk about when we talk about safety redundancies, crumple zones, all those things that your manufacturer builds into your car to keep your family alive. That's what we're talking about here. And if you were watching us on the YouTube, you got to see the picture up close and as personal as possible with one of the cars that was just kind of stopped along the way, headed this way on 12. We got to get out of here in just a minute. Speaking of sponsors of the show, I do have to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. You know what? Summertime is unofficially here, right? Memorial Day is the beginning of summertime. We've been hearing over and over and over again about the number of people who are going to be taking staycations this summer. Price of fuel is through the roof. The gas is through the roof. The plane tickets are through the roof. All these things are contributing to maybe a little bit less of vacation time. Maybe you're going to explore Baton Rouge just a little bit more. If you do, Mathern's could not be more conveniently located. Downtown on 3rd Street. Look, if you're going out in downtown Baton Rouge, if you want to explore downtown Baton Rouge as a staycation tourist, downtown on 3rd Street, great place to stop off and grab yourself some lunch. Great place, too, like we talked about in Medical Monday, rehydrate. Same thing if you, look, summertime, Mike the Tiger gets a little bit lonely. If you want to visit the habitat, they are right across the street. Grab yourself a snack. Grab yourself a lunch. Make a day of it. Picnic on campus, for crying out loud. And Mathern's is your headquarters. Downtown on 3rd Street or in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center right across the street from Tiger Stadium. You got 2 locations of Mathern's. All right, thanks again to everybody who stopped on the show today, that hopped on board. State Representative Jack McFarland, Karen McCord, Bess Casserleigh, and Trey Godfrey, and, of course, Richard Condon for kicking your week right in the parts to get your week started, even though we had a holiday to start the week off. We're going to talk a lot more about proposed bridge locations in the very near future, as we are now down to 3. My money's on the one that's further south. It looks like there's the fewest impediments. In the meanwhile, we got to get out of here. The Fox News Rundown is next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Thanks for listening. All right, YouTube, I got a blast out of y'all. We will see y'all tomorrow. We got Franz, we got Garrett. We hopefully have Hiller more, and I want to say there's 2 more surprises in store, but I don't want to spoil them yet because they're not completely confirmed.